All right, let's move on to topic Tuesday. We're going to talk about blood thinners. Blood thinners. Many of you are on them. Of you are on many different types and may not even realize what you take as a blood thinner. And many of you are going to temporarily get blood thinners if you have a medical procedure. So let's talk about this. But WebMD shares that blood thinners are medicines that help blood flow smoothly through your veins and arteries. That's what a blood thinner does, okay? They keep blood clots from forming or from getting any bigger. And in our community, many use them after receiving a mechanical valve. Okay, all of you receive them after using a mechanical valve or for an underlying medical condition. These drugs help protect against heart attacks and strokes, but they also come with risks. For example, they'll cause you to bleed a little bit more than usual if you cut yourself. But there's two different types of blood thinners, and I've been recently seeing people talk about having to go on one versus the other and are they going to like bleed out. So we have anticoagulants, and an anticoagulant actually keeps your blood from clotting altogether or turning into solid clumps of cells that stick together. That's an anticoagulant. Now an antiplatelet targets tiny particles in the blood called platelets. It's not as intense as an anticoagulant. So here's some of the anticoagulants that you might take. I'm going to butcher the majority of the names and I'm going to read the brand. So Eliquis. Eliquis is one that we typically hear people take when they have AFib, and it does not stop AFib, which is an irregular heartbeat. It stops the chances of having a blood clot that might lead to a stroke because of a fast, irregular heartbeat. I don't understand all the mechanics, and I don't need to because I'm not a doctor, but Eliquis is one of these names. Eliquis and an anticoagulant would be one of those drugs that if you cut yourself, you might need a little extra pressure. Okay, it's not the end of the world, but you definitely need to tell people that you're on an anticoagulant, whether it's Eliquis, Pradaxa, Lovenox is another well-known name. Heparin is another name. Lovenox and heparin are in injections we typically might have when we're laying around in recovery because we don't want clots to form from inactivity after surgery. So they just give them to you in your tummy so that keeps everything flowing. Xarelto is another one similar to Eliquis that I've heard that people then take in pill form at home. So I wouldn't say that you have to be scared, but I would ask questions of your physician. I'd want to know more about this, right? Antiplatelet. And then the other well-known one is warfarin, or known as Coumadin or Jantoven. So that is typically the anticoagulant that's given if you have a mechanical valve. Okay, so, and I still think that all of these are going to operate a little differently. And I'm thinking that, don't know it, only because you don't see people on AFib taking Lovenox. That's not what's typically given. You really hear the Xarelto or the Eliquis. So there must be some difference in these drugs. But common antiplatelets, which would be then your step down, would be aspirin, could be Plavix, could be Brilinta. These are some of the names of things that I've heard of before. Aspirin at a higher quantity. We're not talking one baby aspirin at 81 milligrams. And just that, also Advil, ibuprofen can thin out your blood a little bit. But so that's why when you call 911 and you think you're having a problem, they're going to tell you to take aspirin to thin out the blood enough that it keeps you somewhat protected in case you are like having a heart attack or there's something else going on. But I was on Plavix for a long time, never had a bleeding issue whatsoever. And I personally just started Eliquis and I'm not having a bleeding issue at all still. So just a little pressure. It's not anything that I'm super like nervous or scared of now that I understand it more. But if you want to learn more about how these blood thinners work, antiplatelets versus anticoagulants, and all of the potential side effects, you can click the link to the article in this topic Tuesday. And you should talk to your physicians because if this is going to be a game plan, ask questions. Ask questions. There's a lot of different drugs, just like there are a lot of different beta blockers and ARBs and angiotensin receptor blockers is what an ARB is. One may not be the right one, but maybe another one is. So these are all good reasons to have these conversations with your physicians. Hence Topic Tuesday. There you go.